So signals are a particular construct within Bash that you can send basically a program a signal to do something, right? So you can have a program that's running and it takes 10 minutes to run, and let's say that program needs to end early. You can send it a signal like, hey program, me, the user, I'm asking you to end early. Can you handle that? So it doesn't force the program to do anything. It just tells the program, here's a signal of my intent. It's up to you to do something about it. Like a good example of that would be if someone calls you, right? That's a signal for them to want to talk to you, but you, the program, don't have to answer the call, right? That's kind of what signals are. Is that you're calling the program. It's up to the program to have how it wants to answer that. There's kind of like best practices of like how to handle signals. So relatively most programs will handle signals in a relatively consistent way. But again, it's up to the program to implement signals. Some of them just choose not to. So the first one that you'll use all the time, perhaps the most, is sigint. So sig, signal, int, interrupt. So you're telling the program, please interrupt. A lot of times that just means stop running. So if I do, for example, if I go back to the terminal here, if I do tail, and then I'm going to do -f, which means continue to tail, and I do bash history like this, history. Notice this program is still running. What tail -f does is like, watch this file, and if anything gets added to it, show me those things as they're being added, right? It's anticipating that things will be added to it. But let's say I'm done now and I want the program to end. If I don't do anything right now, it's just going to keep running forever, right? Because that's what -f does. So in order for me to get the program to stop, I have to send it a sigint, a sig interrupt. So if I hit Control and C, it says, please stop. And then like the tail -f is waiting for that signal. And once it catches that sigint, it's like, cool, I'm going to stop. And that's when it stops right there. So you'll see this, what is that? It's not a circumflex, that's what it's called in language. I can't remember the name of that character right now. Anyway, so you'll see this character right here, if you like the Shift 6 character right there, you'll see that a lot. That represents control, right? So when I did this, you see that the circumflex in C, that is me pressing Control C. So that, just be aware that if you see that, in fact, if you're on a Mac keyboard, that's what it looks like. So just be aware of that. Okay. Yeah, here's another one of my favorite programs. It's called Yes. So a lot of these programs, like in the early days, were interactive and you had to answer yes to a bunch of questions. Some computer scientists got real sick of answering yes. So he wrote a program called Yes, and all it does is spam the character Y indefinitely, and it just answers yes to every question that you ask it. But it will do that infinitely until you stop it. So I have to hit Control C, and then it stops. Okay. So that's sigint. That's a good one to know. There's another one called sigquit. So interrupt is like a less powerful, like it's more like, hey, stop doing what you're doing, but sigquit's like, shut it down, I'm done with you. In fact, if I just hit Control D right now, don't, but if you did, well, I'll just show you. It'll actually end my terminal session. It's like, you told me to quit, I'm quitting, right? So now this is actually done. I can't even restart this, so I have to reopen my shell now. I'll just close that old one. That's what sigquit is. It's a strong signal. It's like quit the entire program. So like a good example of this, if I say Python 3 and I get popped into the Python 3 REPL, it actually doesn't respect keyboard interrupts, right? So it's not going to end it if I tell it that. So you actually have to send Python 3 a sigquit for it to say, oh, okay, you wanted me to stop. So I hit Control D, and that's how I quit Python 3. The REPL for Python. So that's good to, like, generally my progression of things is like, I'll try Control C to see if it stops. If it doesn't stop, then I'll try Control D to see if that makes it stop. And usually one of the two will quit any program. So just keep those in mind. Try Control-C first. If that doesn't work, then try Control-D. Okay, there's no, for this next one here, sigterm. Sigterm is, I think it's terminate. But this happens when your computer is like shutting down, right? It'll actually send sigterms to all of your programs and say like, hey, we're shutting down. Everyone, you get your opportunity right now to shut your stuff down. I'm going to give you a bit of time. Here's your sigterm. And then once you're all done, then it shuts the entire terminal down. So you don't send sigterms. Typically, it's your computer sending sigterms to the various different programs. You can send sigterms yourself, but that's not what it's meant for. It's meant to be from the operating system itself because it's shutting down. And then everyone's favorite at the end is sigkill, which is like you're done. Like it's program assassination, right? Like it gets shut down immediately. You don't get a cleanup. You don't get any options. It's just done. All right. So if I look at my programs now, you can see where's the yes. I had a yes running. Oh no, I don't. So I'll show you how to do this in a second, but I'm going to start a program running in the background, and I'm going to have it just infinitely go in the background. All right, so now you can see here, I have this yes running in the background, which is that infinitely spanning y, right? And it's just running in the background, taking up CPU. It's not doing anything useful. So I want to kill this program. Now I could give it like a soft sigint, and it would totally respect that. But just to show you how to do a sigkill, like immediately kill this and don't clean up after yourself. And that's like really the big difference here is things that are sent to sigterm and sigquint and sigint will get an opportunity to wrap things up, write some files out, clear out the logs, send us something off to the server. Sigkill will not allow it to do that. So you can use something called kill, and if I do kill, and actually I think I might have, yeah, okay. And then I'm going to give it this process ID, 1465. So the -9 represents sigkill. And the way you can actually tell that is you can see number 9 right here is sigkill. So kill-L will show you all of the various different signals that are possible. And most of these, I don't even know what they do and I never use them. Like, well, let's see, like sig PWR. I guess it's probably power, sig IO, sig G. I don't know, some of these I just don't even know what they do and you never have to really use them directly. There's sig alarm, which is like sound the alarm on the computer. There's a bunch of these. But the -9 here says send signal number 9, which is sigkill, to process 1465. And we'll get into like the process stuff here in just in a little bit, but I wanted you to know what sigkill does. And I wanted you to know like what the ejector button is, which is kill-9 process ID will just destroy any process. You can also do, yeah, like this. You can do -sigkill like this. And I know this just has one dash, but that's how kill works. Like I said, it's up to every program to implement flags however they want to. But -sigkill would have done that as well. Like if I do 1467 in here, which I know doesn't exist, but that would have sent sigkill to 1467. And again, kill-L will show you all of the possible signals that you can send to programs.